Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. We've got you covered. Traditional leagues, dynasty leagues, PPR league, IDP league, even daily fantasy football league. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome everyone to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Mellon, and with me is my fantasy football partner in crime, Marc Souza.
Your guru.
No, my partner in crime.
I am the best.
Okay, we'll keep telling yourself that. Anyways, welcome.
I wake up every day and I say that in the mirror.
At least someone says it to you. Anyways, welcome. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to start with some sleepers and streamers for this week, and by position. We're also going to be talking about who to start and who to sit. We have a list of players that I think are very important to talk about. And we're also going to be talking about any games.
Buy or sell. We do buy or sell.
We do buy or sells, and then we do our own little fantasy football action, 10 I think we'll move it up to 20 push-ups. I'm not sure if we'll move it up to 20 or just keep it to 10.
Maybe we'll do 25.
Maybe like that's the championship game or something.
Okay.
But we're going to do our own drafting again, our own free form of daily drafting for this week. And so we'll move on. We'll start with the sleepers and streamers. Do you want to do sleepers or do you want to do streamers?
I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is the same thing.
What position do you want to go? And I'll start.
Let's go running back first.
Running back.
Okay.
Perfect. I have a couple names down.
I have one very important name down.
Go ahead.
To me, important.
Go ahead.
Frank Gore.
Yeah, I had him down.
You had him down
also?
also?
One of the guys.
Miami Dolphins running back. They're playing the Lions, who allow the third most points per game to running backs. Mm-hmm. And with Kenyon Drake and his costly fumble in overtime, even though they won the game, that was a fumble they are concerned about. It seems like Frank Gore's going to get a lot of the carries, don't you think?
Yeah, he's been getting consistently, 10 to 15 touches a game pretty much every week. There was that week against Oakland where he didn't. But, yeah, I mean, I think that if you need a running back in a pinch, he's only 25% owned in ESPN leagues, so you can tell he's available in most leagues out there.
It's because he's getting old. I think that's why, too.
Yeah.
He's way past his prime, to be honest. But
the thing is, when you get Frank Gore off the waiver wire, you know that your upside is very limited. His highest he has, points total, is 14, but you know that he's actually probably has got a safe floor. I would say 6 or 7 points if you need a running back. Of course, one of your guys is on bye. There is a lot of buys this week, so I think Frank Gore is a great addition. He was only 12% owned. It has risen to 25, but again, most leagues, most people out there, if you need a running back, Frank Gore I think is a good option.
Absolutely.
So then I'll go with the next one.
Go for it.
Peyton Barber. Very uninspiring player, just like Frank Gore.
I think he's more uninspired, to be honest. He must be less than 25% owned.
Actually, Peyton Barber is 66% owned.
Is he really?
The thing is that when you get a running back on a team that scores a lot of points, they're usually very valuable. He had 18.6 fantasy points last week in half PPR. He had 4 receptions for 24 yards and a touchdown, 13 carries for 82 yards. So they're getting him the ball. They don't trust Ronald Jones, and I think we might see the Bucs continue high-scoring offense. So, yeah, at some point they're going to hand the ball off into the end zone instead of just throwing touchdown passes. But even still, Peyton Barber showed last week that he can score as a receiver as well. So it's not somebody who I would love starting. I'd probably be praying that he hits 10 points, but again, you're getting a guy, there's not very many running backs in the NFL that are getting over 60 to 70% of the snaps, and he's one of them.
Okay. I got one more running back.
Go ahead.
Marlon Mack.
Gosh.
Do you have these on too?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Go ahead.
Well, he is only 26% owned. He's coming out of a hamstring injury, but he is getting a lot of the early down runs for the Colts. He's getting a lot of those early touches, and I think that's gonna he's gonna get back into more than 12 carries a game. He's gonna go. He's moving more and more up in carries. He might be getting up to 20. Who knows? But he's only 26% owned. If you need a guy, just maybe for just 1 week, or maybe just on someone on your bench, I would say Marlon Mack is a guy to definitely take advantage of since he's not taken in many leagues.
Yeah, no, I mean, you said it. None of those Colts running backs really snatched the job away when Mack was injured. He did drop that touchdown last week. I know that you remember that. That would have changed his output for sure.
Absolutely, but still, you should take advantage of when he's available. If you're looking for if you're looking to swap someone, or if you're looking for a guy for your bench, I think Marlon Mack's a perfect guy.
Yeah, absolutely. He, like you said, I mean, he's available in a lot of leagues right now. He's actually only 53% owned in ESPN leagues. Another guy,
53.
Mm-hmm.
It says 26 on here for me. Maybe that's for different. We're on different.
ESPN leagues is 53%.
Okay.
But regardless. No, he's definitely a guy. I think if we're throwing out somebody who is probably available in every league but could have a decent game, it's somebody like LeGarrette Blount, 13% owned.
Just so he doesn't punch somebody.
Kerryon Johnson is their best running back, but Blount's going to get 7 to 10, 7 to 12 carries, and he's probably still getting all the red zone.
He has been slowing down, though. Don't forget, he was a huge factor in the Super Bowl.
But if you need somebody
Eagles.
if you need somebody to fall into the end zone to save your fantasy week, he might be a flyer because you mentioned the Dolphins' run defense.
Yes, the thing is with Blount is the fact that he was such a huge factor in both the Patriots and Eagles when they went to the Super Bowl, and now he's going to the Lions, and he's relied on way too much. And they're expecting him to turn this team around. In reality, he's past his prime, to be honest. And he should only be a red zone back. And definitely you should use a red zone back for your fantasy team. But I think they're relying on him too much. And I have a scary feeling that maybe a nagging injury of some kind will keep him off the field.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not somebody that, again, we're talking about if you need a running back, you can't. None of your players on your roster already who are better are available by injury or by bye weeks, because this is a big bye week. So any other running backs? That's all I got.
No, how about quarterbacks now?
Quarterbacks, okay.
My number one sleeper that I think could have a great game is Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I have him down too.
Do you really? God, we really need to talk.
32% owned. Go ahead. Why do you think he'll have a big game?
Well, he's playing the Saints, and the Saints are the ones that made Fitzmagic happen for that very short period of time.
Fitzmagic.
I will leave this studio.
I have a
right
great
now.
voice. It sounds even better in the headset. In the headphones.
Really don't.
Fitzmagic. Okay, go ahead. So Flacco's facing the 30th ranked pass defense.
Yes, that's why I'm saying the Saints are so bad at pass defense. They made Fitzpatrick happen.
You almost said it.
I almost did, and I stopped myself because I don't want you to sing that stupid song again. I had to smack him. Anyway, stop it.
Okay, go ahead.
And bottom line is, if the guy on the Buccaneers quarterback who's a backup now can have such a great game, I think that Flacco can have that just as same amount of points game.
Yeah, if Flacco can throw touchdown passes, he'll do really well. His yardage numbers are there. He's averaging 300 yards a game. But
the Saints have one hole, and that's their passing defense. I feel like
I agree.
This team is still a Super Bowl contender, but just their passing defense needs so much work. And I feel like Joe Flacco can really take advantage of it, and I think he could be a major player and a major sleeper for this week.
And I think so. I have a couple quarterbacks, including Flacco, but I think a point that we need to make to the audience is a lot of times it's about the game script. Flacco's been playing good, but his points in the last two games are 11 and 14, and that's because his defense has dominated those games, and they haven't had to score points. Well, now they're playing a Saints offense. We know the Saints are going to score points. This game could be a shootout, Jeff. So You could get Flacco against a bad defense in a high-scoring game, and that sounds good. If you need a quarterback to stream this week, I think he's a good option for you.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
So I get to go.
Okay, go for it.
So this is the one I feel most confident in. I wrote down 3. You named 1, so I have 2 more. Andy Dalton, and I know that he's owned in 68% of the leagues. So most leagues he's not available. But can you believe that the number 10 ranked fantasy quarterback is available in over 30% of fantasy leagues? That's too high in my opinion. He's been producing.
Too high?
Yeah, it's too high that he's unowned in that many leagues.
Oh, I see.
So here,
I thought you were saying it's too high that he's
get
owned.
this. You ready for this?
Go for it.
He has 1 game under 18 fantasy points this year. He has 2 games over 30. He has 2 games in the 20s. He is facing Kansas City. We think that game will be high scoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get to play the Kansas City defense, and you have a good offense. You have A.J. Green. You have Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. I think Andy Dalton, if he's available, you're probably not just picking him up. You're starting him this week, even over other better quarterbacks.
Yeah, true. Kansas City, that a lot of the flaws of these really good teams is their secondary, is their passing defense. And a lot of times you can take advantage, and you're right, absolutely. Against this Kansas City defense, you should definitely take advantage of the situation you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
with Andy Dalton, of course, and
yeah, if Dalton's available in your league, you gotta pick him up. You gotta start him this week. It's just too good of a matchup. I know it's on the road, but man, his defense is going to be giving up touchdowns, and he's going to have to be throwing them back in the game.
Especially with A.J. Green as one of his.
His receivers. Yeah, absolutely.
It should just be the ingredient for points galore. No.
Yeah. So, do you have any other quarterbacks? I have one more.
I have one more too.
Go ahead.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Okay.
Do you not have him?
He's not who I picked.
Good.
Because I figured he's already picked up by now.
He has probably picked up a lot, but
he's only owned
my
in
pen
50%.
just broke.
He's only owned in 50%.
That was that noise. Yeah, 50%. But I'm just saying, like, this Patriots secondary, we have talked about that a lot of these teams have a struggling secondary, and the Patriots are no different.
Oh, yeah. And again.
And Mitchell Trubisky is coming off, like, I know a couple weeks ago he had a 5-touchdown game.
We're going to continue to talk about this. Game script means everything in fantasy football when you talk about quarterbacks, especially streaming quarterbacks. It's because we expect the Bears-Patriots to be a high-scoring game, right?
Yes.
So you want the quarterback, but you want both quarterbacks in that game. What you don't want in fantasy football is a quarterback in a low-scoring game, whether it's on the good or bad end. You don't want that. You want lots of points.
Correct.
Like a guy like Case Keenum last night, he could have had a bigger game, but his defense was so good that it really hurt him, and they're just happy handing the football off. So
you're right.
I have one more.
Go for it.
You might be shocked.
I'm ready to be shocked.
Eli Manning. I think he's a great streamer this week.
Can you say that again, please? I don't think I heard
Eli Manning. He's 11% owned.
I'm sorry. My ears. There must be something in my ears, but I keep hearing Eli Manning, but that can't possibly be right.
Yes. Eli Manning, I think he's good for 20 fantasy points or more this week as he faces a very poor Atlanta defense. He's not very good. I get it. But this is a game where I think Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, even Saquon Barkley can do a lot because it should be a high-scoring game. Should follow the script. We should see two teams scoring points.
Are you mental?
Now, the Giants do have an issue scoring points, but the Falcons have an issue giving up points. That's even larger, in my opinion. I think we'll see Odell have a good game. And, yeah, look for Eli to be 20 or so points. If you need him in a pinch, I mean, you can do worse, in my opinion. So what about...
I don't know if you could, but sure.
Let's do wide receivers.
Okay, who's your first wide receiver?
I have a combo because they play on the same team. But
okay.
Traquan Smith and Cam Meredith for New Orleans. We
just talked about the Baltimore Ravens.
Right. The Ravens are good. The Ravens are good. It's not about the Ravens. What this is about is Ted Ginn Jr. got put on IR. So now the number 2 and number 3 receivers for the Saints has now been opened up to Traquan Smith, Cam Meredith. We saw Cam Meredith recently get back in action, but Traquan Smith is actually the receiver that caught those 2 touchdown passes from Drew Brees last week, that record-setting game. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
He's a young receiver, a rookie receiver. They've been talking a lot about him, and now they get a chance to use him. I like him a little bit more than Cam Meredith because I think he gives you upside. He's a speedy receiver, and I think he'll be the one that takes that Ted Ginn role, whereas Cam Meredith, I think, is more for the possession type. So if you need a big game from a flex or something like that, consider picking up Traquan Smith. This game might not be the best for him, but in future games, I think he's going to be a factor, and you want to get him before he has a breakout game this week because then everybody will be getting him. Okay.
I definitely can see the possibility of that. But the Ravens defense is good, no question about it.
Yeah, so it might not be this week game, but you want to get him before he blows up, is what I'm saying.
So he's due for an explosion.
I would pick him up and put him on your bench and see how he does, and then maybe you have a stud.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Okay, and who do you got?
I don't know how you think about this, but Josh Reynolds.
I like that. He's only 2% owned in ESPN leagues.
Yes, but he is playing a very poor 49ers secondary, and with Coop out, I think that this is a perfect time to pick him up, and I think he might explode.
I agree with you there. You're taking a flyer at this point, but you know that he's going to be on the field, and he's playing a bad team, a bad secondary, so... Yeah, I like the Josh Reynolds pickup at least for a week. They go on bye, so if you need somebody, if there's an injury scare on one of your teams or something like that, I would go ahead and do that for sure. So
yeah, he's definitely a guy you would consider for just if you're looking for like a 1 week fix of someone who has a bye week or it's just someone you don't think is going to do well. I would definitely think Josh Reynolds is the guy to go with.
I have a player that I think should be picked up regardless, but this week. His matchup is really good. Willie Snead.
Okay.
Willie
I like
Snead,
that.
23% owned in ESPN leagues. He has at least 8 fantasy points in his last 3 games. Get this, Jeff. It's a revenge game. He gets to play his old team. Willie Snead.
And guys are usually really good against their old teams.
Willie Snead, I think, will get 7 or 8 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. And I think that will be a nice little game for him. He should be rostered. Just too good of a player to be on waiver wires, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say so myself. Especially if he faces, like I just said, if he faces a former team, I feel like they're more motivated than any other time in the weeks.
You got any other sleepers for this week?
Josh Gordon.
Okay.
He hasn't been playing to the level. I know he's probably picked up a lot, but the fact is he's not been playing the best. He's been probably on a lot of people's benches. I think you start him now, and he could have a good game with the Patriots. I think he's finally learning that playbook. I think it's time to really utilize him as a weapon on that Patriots offense.
Gotcha. I have a tight end sleeper, CJ Uzoma from Cincinnati. He's only 30% owned. He is the only tight end that's healthy on the Bengals. Last week, 6 catches, 54 yards. Again, he's playing in a game that should be high scoring. The Chiefs can't cover very well. Expect him to have another solid game. I don't know if he will have a breakout game, but I think at this point, when you know that he's going to be in the game for pretty much every snap that they use a tight end, you could do worse there. If you need a tight end in a pinch, 7-8 points, I think is his floor. He should have a good game. So, Uzoma, what about you? Do you have a tight end or a defense that you want to talk about?
I do, actually. Vernon Davis.
Okay.
Alex Smith and Vernon Davis were actually a great duo in San Francisco back in the day. And now that they're together, he's been actually passing to him quite a bit. Vernon Davis did get a receiving touchdown last week, and I can see it replicating again this week.
I can see
least
that.
A touchdown pass for him.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. We need to go to a break, but I just wanted to say the Indianapolis Colts, 44% owned in ESPN. Their defense and special teams, they're facing Buffalo this week, and I know that Peterman's not playing for Buffalo, Derek Anderson is, but we don't even know if that's an upgrade. And I get it. The Colts are not a good defense, but they can get to the quarterback. And whenever you face a quarterback that hasn't played in a long time, I feel like there's always a chance for some turnovers there. What you're looking for is a defense that has the ability, like Denver. Denver's not a great defense, but last night was perfect for them because they played a team where they were afforded the opportunity to get their hands on the ball. 2 pick sixes. I can see the Colts getting at least 15 fantasy points in this game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can totally see that too. There's a big possibility.
And again, they're only 44% owned. Like, they're readily
Well, they're
available.
kind of bad. They're just facing a worse team in the Bills. I think that's the situation we're looking at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So we should go to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about starter sit possibilities, some players on some teams that we'll give you our recommendations, what you should do with them. So we should do that when we return.
Great. We will see you then.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. We just talked about our sleepers for this week. Now we're going to our stardom or sit-em. Would you like to start, Mark, or should I?
You can go.
All right. First things first. I think this is a big one. Odell Beckham Jr.
That's an easy one. That's a must start every game.
Well, he's been struggling each game, though.
He's had a couple good games.
Well, he's not consistent as a guy who was probably your first wide receiver choice should be. He should be always consistent.
Sure, he's a number 15th ranked receiver, though. You're not ever sitting him. I don't care who
I don't
it
know.
is.
I just don't, because of how badly the Giants have been playing. I'm still on a let's not.
He's averaging 15 points a game, though. I mean,
well, I'm still hesitant because Eli Manning's not playing as great. Saquon Barkley's getting a lot of carries. I'm saying there's a big question mark on Odell Beckham Jr. going into the rest of the season.
he's going to have a huge game this weekend.
Just despite me?
No, because he's playing a terrible defense, and they're going to be behind probably most of the game. So he'll probably score at least a touchdown, I would say.
So still a 15 pedestrian point game.
That's actually really good. If you can get 15 points, I think you'll take that every single time for one of your starters.
Well, that was some people's first picks, too.
If that was your first pick, then you deserve to be 0-6 right now.
A lot of people picked wide receivers first.
Yeah, but not Odell.
Some people did. I saw it on some draft boards.
Yeah, well, those people are probably not doing very well.
Okay, well, we're supposed to have different opinions. I personally think that Odell Beckham Jr.
So
is
you'll
not playing.
sit him if you had him on your team? You'd sit him?
Depending on who's on my bench.
Okay.
I'll definitely consider it
So-
because he's not playing as well as I thought he would be playing.
Let's say he's the best talented receiver you have on your fantasy team, and you have three other receivers who are decent, but maybe producing more. I mean, Odell's the number 15 ranked receiver, so how many better receivers would you have on your roster is what I'm saying.
Maybe one.
Okay, so you'd start him and the other one?
Well, I guess it all depends on, I guess we also have to look at defensive side. But if I have someone on the Baltimore Ravens right now on my bench that's a receiver,
Okay.
I might be putting him over at Odell Beckham because of who they're playing.
Okay. All right, so who I'll go right
Okay.
now. Deshaun Watson against the Jacksonville Jaguars. What do you do with him?
He's still averaging 300 yards a game.
Mm-hmm. He's playing a tough D. Now
they did
the
struggle
Jaguars.
last week.
Yes,
I'm saying
in a
start
very
him.
weird
I'm going
game.
to say start him.
You got Stardom?
Stardom.
So last week, Deshaun Watson struggled against Buffalo. He only had 7 fantasy points against the Buffalo Bills, who I do think have a decent defense, but I don't know if it's on the caliber as Jacksonville. I would not start him.
Jacksonville's defense has been struggling recently.
I would not start Deshaun Watson. I think that you're looking at under 20 fantasy points.
I'm thinking because of how poorly the Jacksonville Jaguars defense has played in the recent weeks, it's a good risk to start him.
It's a fringe. He's the number 12th ranked quarterback. I don't know. I feel like there's safer options there with more upside because that game could also be low scoring. So I don't want a quarterback in a low-scoring football game, even if he's good. Even if I had Tom Brady and the over-under was like 30 in that game, I wouldn't want him. I'd play somebody else.
Okay. My turn again.
Go ahead.
We're going to go quarterback still. Brock Osweiler.
Oh, man.
I had to ask.
Talking about him today.
It's you, but I have to ask this question. He is starting this week again. Ryan Tannehill is sitting out. He had that good game last week against Chicago. Do you see a replicate of that, or does he go back?
Well, he always beats the Bears, right?
That's why my point is, like, do you start him or sit him after a game like that? Because he has been struggling with other teams, other 31 teams in the NFL in the past. Mm-hmm. So, do you start Osweiler, yes or no? Well, I know what you're going to say.
I would stay away from him.
The guy that loves him more than anyone else in this room is saying that.
That's not hard. There's only 2 people in this room.
Exactly, but you have a real man crush on him.
I think that people in fantasy football, they get caught up in recency bias a lot. And yes, he had a great game last week, but would I be shocked if he had 4 fantasy points this Sunday? No, I wouldn't. Like, I really wouldn't.
But I'm saying that consistency is also crucial in fantasy football.
Right, and we have 1 game to go off of, so I just think there's better options.
I thought it was a very logistic question, though. A question that needed to be asked.
Of what? If he should
start or not.
Yeah, no, it's a good question because people, like I said, people will see what he did last week and be like, oh, they beat the Bears.
Yeah,
the Bears have a good defense, so
I
do
do agree with you that I think you should bench him. I don't think he's going to go off again.
I mean, he's only 3% owned, so I think most people don't trust him yet.
He might get picked up more and more as the season goes on if he continues to play at least solid, but overall, I would say just keep him on that waivers, keep him away from you,
I wouldn't do it.
And just worry about him until maybe a quarterback gets injured.
Like I'd rather have Flacco. I'd rather have Flacco, who's 32% owned. I'd rather have Dalton, who's 68%. Like, give me those.
Well, they're consistently starting quarterbacks with the teams they know their offenses and stuff.
Sometimes they put up duds, but okay. So, my next one is Will Fuller, Houston. Wide receiver.
Fifth? Will Fuller the 5th?
Yes. Will Fuller 5.
Will Fuller 5. Their return again.
So his last 2 games, he's had 4 total catches in the last 2 games for 48 yards. He's had 2.5 and 4.3 points.
He has not been the best, has he?
He's a big play receiver. He plays against Jacksonville this weekend. What do you do with him?
Well, since Watson loves going to Hopkins more than Fuller, I'm going to bench him.
Yeah, I am not playing Will Fuller at all. Again, it should be a low-scoring game. Again, he's playing a tough secondary. It just doesn't seem like the game that Will Fuller, who should break out in a lot of games this year, doesn't seem like this will be the one. I would be very cautious, and I'd play somebody else.
Okay. Well, I agree with you on that. Mine is now a running back.
Go ahead.
He did have over 200 yards recently.
Oh, I think I know who it is.
Isaiah Crowell.
Well, it wasn't going to be Gurley.
No, of course not.
Well, you said over 200 yards, so I knew there was only 2 people.
Yeah. So
Crowell, yeah.
Crowell did have 219 yards rushing against the Denver Broncos.
I'm going to say no on him.
You're going to say bench him?
I'm going to say bench him because I think it's a tough matchup for him, and I actually like Powell in this game because I think he's the running back that, first of all, Powell out-snaps Isaiah Crowell, and Isaiah Crowell is reliant on those big runs and those touchdowns, whereas Powell can get 5 or 6
But do you think that 219-yard game will give him more snaps this game?
No, because it didn't give him more snaps. He actually lost snaps last game. So
do you think they maybe will give
He had
him
13 carries for 40 yards.
I'm asking if they'll give him another opportunity to try and get that.
Well,
Gotta
I mean,
reach that.
him and Powell split time, but Powell sees more snaps because he's the third down back. So they split on first and second down, but then Powell gets all the third down work. So, I mean, look, he has 3 games this year. Crow has 3 games this year of over 18 points, and he has 3 games under 6 points. Like, it's feast or famine with the guy, and I'm not willing to risk the feast on this game.
Okay, so you're saying sit.
I am saying sit big time.
I said last time I told people to sit him, he had that game against Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking that chance again. I'm saying start him, take the risk,
How many
roll the
points?
dice.
How many points is he getting?
Give me.
Is he getting over 12?
Give me at least 1 touchdown. So yeah, give me over 12.
Okay.
That's logical,
I'll
right?
say he gets under 10, but we'll see.
10 touchdowns.
No, 10 points.
No, I meant
What?
bet. Or do you just want to do it for the fantasy?
Yeah,
draft?
we already have a
Okay.
bet coming up. My running back starter sit this weekend is Carlos Hyde. He's actually had a pretty good season. He's a number 14 ranked running back in half PPR scoring. But his last 2 games, 8.7 and 3.4, he has not seen the end zone after having 5 touchdowns in the first 4 games of the season. They play Tampa Bay. Would you start or sit him this week?
With Tampa Bay's passing defense not being the best, and Baker Mayfield hopefully looking to really come out after a struggling game last week, I'm going to say sit him.
Okay.
Because because he is known for having one great game in a season, or 1 to 2
Who,
great.
Hyde?
Yeah.
He's already had 4 good games, though.
Well, like one game, like last year, like what I'm trying to say is like he gets 1 or 2 100-yard, maybe more games, and then he just falls off.
I can't listen to this anymore. Start Carlos Hyde. Start
Wow,
him with
do you
confidence.
are you really disagreeing with me that much?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, well, you're a jerk for that.
Yeah.
I never said that to you. I never said I'm not going to hear this anymore. I always heard your comments.
Oh, I listened to you already, but I was done. So
I'm just saying Carlos Hyde's been known for inconsistency in his career, so
sure, this game should be high scoring, and he's our goal line running back, so maybe 1 to 2 touchdowns. He could easily have 20 points in this game, but I say confidently he has at least 13.
okay, I'll go with the under on that.
Okay. Go ahead with your next player.
Oh, right.
I only have one more.
I have one more too. It's another quarterback, but I think this isn't also a must-ask question. Actually, no, I won't go with quarterback. I'll go tight end because we
ahead.
haven't done that. Cameron Bate.
Cameron Brait or Bait?
Bate.
Brait.
I thought it was bait.
No, that's something you use to.
I
go
know what
fishing
bait.
with.
No, B-A-T-E.
It's Brate, man.
Wait, hold on.
It's Cameron Brait.
Oh my God, they spelled it wrong on. Wow, they spelled it wrong on Bleacher Report because I see B-A-T-E right here.
That's fine. I don't care.
Wow.
So,
Bleacher Report, you let me down, man.
so he has a touchdown scored in the last 3 games.
That's incredible. Well, yeah, but I'm saying is that going to continue?
I mean, he's a boomer bust play. I thought he'd have a little bit more action in this offense when Winston returned, but I don't know. I could see this is tough for me, man. I say no because if he's not getting the targets, I'm not relying on a touchdown. But again, it's a position where sometimes 8 or 9 points is really good.
He is a big reception guy. He can get the ball. He can like he only had 1 reception last week, but it was a touchdown, a 15-yard touchdown. He's had like you said, 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games.
Yeah, he just doesn't get the ball enough to be confident. But I mean, if you have to start him, you have to start him.
But I mean, if you need a guy that gives you a touchdown, he's the guy to go.
I like CJ Uzoma better for the Bengals if you had to choose. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't fault somebody for starting him but it's just a high risk position anyway. So my last starter sit.
Tight end has never been the guaranteed to give you a lot of points type of thing, huh?
Yeah. So I think this is a really tough one. The Baltimore Ravens defense. Now the number 2 defense in fantasy football. They're coming off a 25-point game against the Tennessee Titans. They've had over 10 points 5 out of 6 times. Do? Do you sit them against the Saints or do you start them?
I'm going to say sit because how dominant the
Saints are.
Saints offense is. I wouldn't say offense, not their entire team, their offense.
Yeah, I say sit them because there's just better options out there. The Saints could have, a game where they score 34 points. Now, the Ravens did give up 34 points to the Cincinnati Bengals, and a terrible performance for their defense before, and I think the Saints offense is better. The Ravens are a good defense, but they've also been playing some very poor offenses. So the Ravens defense, I say sit, and I think we need to take a break. And then when we come back, we'll talk about buy or sell, the players that you should be targeting or, looking to get rid of after this.
Ooh, we'll see you there.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. We just finished talking about our starter or sit-ems. Now we're going to buying and selling. Do you want to start with buying or do you want to start with selling, my good friend?
Let's go buy.
All right, who are you buying?
David Johnson.
Really?
With the news that their offensive coordinator has been fired, I think his production...
Because of you?
I think his production could only go up from here. I think you could get him at a discounted rate. I just believe in the talent too much to and he's been okay. Like his worst game, even last night 8.5, like yeah, you want more than that, but you'll live with that, So I like David Johnson as a buy low candidate. There's not very many running backs that are as talented as him that you can get in fantasy right now because most of those guys are performing because they're on more competent football teams, but he gets to play the 49ers the next game. He gets to play the Chiefs the game after that. He gets to play the Raiders the game after that. These are favorable matchups for David Johnson, so I say go out and get him.
Okay. Well, this might be a tad exaggeration, but I'm going to go and buy Duke Johnson.
Oh, so not David, but Duke. But
yeah,
Duke, yeah, he's available in some leagues as a free agent.
He's 44% in ESPN and 37% in Yahoo. He's wanting more. He's not doing that well average-wise, but he's asking for the ball more. I think he's bound to get some more snaps, and I think he could break out at any game.
Yeah, if he's on a team, he might be somebody that you can get for maybe a player that you were going to drop anyway.
Like a scrub or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm saying I could buy him because I can get him for cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. He's available in half the league, so that's pretty cheap. My next buy, Doug Baldwin.
Okay.
He's on a bye week, so a lot of times people will think, oh, he's on a bye, like I can get rid of him or whatever, like out of sight, out of mind. 6 catches, 91 yards against the Raiders. He looks like he's getting back to being healthy, and he's seeing 30% of the targets in all 3 games that he's been able to play this season. That's a really high amount. Russell Wilson trusts him, and yes, Tyler Lockett and David Moore have caught touchdown passes, but I like Doug Baldwin. You might be able to get him for cheap as some owner might be really frustrated with him. On the year, he's got like 20 fantasy points, so Doug Baldwin, buy low candidate.
I'm talking about a wide receiver also, but he's kind of been injured for a lot of the season, but he came back strong last week. Marquise Goodwin.
Yeah, he could be an
He's
interesting.
Like, you can probably get him for cheap at the moment. He played really well last week against the
when he's healthy,
Green
he's
Bay
been
Packers.
performing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's not been the healthiest player, but when he's healthy, he's been playing very positive. He's very quick on the field. He gets those deep passes. Shanahan loves to use them. I think this is a great pickup because he's only 67% taken in Yahoo and 64% in ESPN. You could probably trade him for a good deal.
And one thing that you should also note is that the 49ers defense is not good, so they're going to have to be throwing on a lot of these games.
Yeah. So when the defense is lacking, you got to go with the offensive side and see what they're going to do. And I think Marquise Goodwin is a go-to player on that offensive side for the San Francisco 49ers.
Mm-hmm. My last buy candidate is Jordan Howard, Chicago Bears. He's had a tough season, definitely has not performed well, but we are talking about a guy that's going to get the ball 15 to 20 times a game. Most likely the goal line snaps, and he's in a good offense. Now, sometimes that could be detrimental as the Bears try to feed a lot of different people like Allen Robinson, like Taylor Gabriel, like Tariq Cohen. But Jordan Howard, he shouldn't be discounted. Yes, he hasn't done very well his last 2 games, plus he had a bye week in between those 2 games where he was underperforming. You might be able to snag him for cheap right now. I would do it. Go out and get him. Before he has a big game. I don't know if it's going to be this week, but I see some 20, 25-point games in his near future.
Okay. Well, I'm going with my final buy to be a tight end. Jordan Reed.
Okay.
I know I was high on Vernon Davis before, but Jordan Reed's always been that number 1 guy in Washington. He's kind of not gotten a lot of the options recently, but I think he's due for a big game, and he's due for a lot of more upload for the tight end slots and for the passing game. So I say he is pretty low on percentage-wise. Like, well, not really low. He's in the 90%, so I shouldn't say low, but he's probably low when it comes to bench players. Like, he's probably on a lot of people's benches at the moment. So maybe take advantage of that and trade for another bench player and try to steal him because he's stealable right now.
He's a good talent. I mean, he's an athlete.
He's not averaging very well. Like, his projection this week is 7.6 points. I don't think a lot of people will start him this week, but I think that's when you take advantage of trading.
Yeah.
When he's not looking good for this week, you take advantage so he's looking good for the next couple of more weeks.
Yeah, so let's go on to the sell portion. One player I think you should sell today, like literally today, or at least before Sunday, is Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller...
You said that last week, I thought.
Lamar Miller is... if you still have him, you should sell him. I mean, this guy, his best game is 11 points. Next week, it looks like Deontay Foreman is coming off the PUP list. And he's definitely a threat to take over. Lamar Miller is just not a very good running back. Like, there's nothing more to say than that.
Some talent, but yeah,
he's got 1 touchdown on the season, so he's not even really producing. And he is getting the bulk of the snaps. Like, he's touching the ball 15 to 20 times a game, and he's still not producing. I say get rid of him. Try and sell him for something before you just outright drop him. I mean, you could possibly get a decent tight end or maybe a wide receiver 2 or 3 for Lamar Miller because he is a starting running back. But like I mentioned, he might not be a starting running back in a week or 2. So do that now.
Yeah, he could be a risk at holding on to. You might not like my running back, Sal.
Go ahead.
Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, that's a big name.
He was struggling last week. He got 7 receptions, sure, but his yardage was under 50 yards.
You don't think that this is like a recency bias here?
No, I think he hasn't had like a breakout game in the last couple of weeks, has he?
I mean, he had a bye week, but he had 2 23-point games before that.
Yeah, but that bye week sometimes really messes with players' momentum.
Okay.
And this could hurt his consistency.
That is
after that bye week, he did drop pretty harsh, and you could probably get something really good for him at the moment. That's why I'm saying you could sell him now, and he might struggle. He might continue to struggle, but you could probably sell him for something good.
He's got some really nice matchups, though, so that's something to think about.
Yeah, but I also think that there's a good chance of him possibly being something so good you can trade him for someone even better.
Okay. My first or my second sell is Marshawn Lynch.
I'm surprised if anyone still has him.
He's 97% owned.
He's probably on a lot of people's benches because of his groin injury.
Yeah, but he's the 15th ranked running back. Like, he had over 10.
He's not going to be he's not going to take a lot of runs at the moment because of that injury.
Exactly. So he has a groin injury. The offense for the Raiders is so unpredictable. I think we might have seen his best games
is
of
the
the
team
season.
unpredictable, or is John Gruden unpredictable?
Everything. I mean, that is the team. John Gruden is the team. So,
well, I meant like the team. Never mind.
He calls the plays like they're his players. I mean, I don't know. But you got to get rid of him now because, yes, you can't sell him terribly high because he doesn't have the greatest recent run of games. But somebody might realize that they need a running back and they could use a running back to get 15 carries a game and all the goal line snaps. They might be willing to part ways with a decent player like a wide receiver too. I would get rid of him now because, again, his groin injury. So we don't know if this is going to affect him the rest of the season or not.
It could totally play a huge factor.
Yeah, I just think that when you couple in the offense, the dumpster fire that is the Oakland Raiders right now, plus his groin injury, like, it's all bad. Like, I don't see positive end of the season for Marshawn Lynch. I think this is as good as he'll be. So, What do you think?
I can agree with that.
Who do you got for your next sell?
My next sell is, well, you might not agree with this. I am not entirely sure. But one of my main selling points is Kyle Rudolph, Minnesota Vikings tight end.
Okay.
Because he's kind of like almost non-existent in the offense at the moment. He's kind of just there. Like, I haven't seen any big plays come from him. Have you?
No, but it's a position that, I mean, he's still a top 10 tight end.
Yeah, but like Kirk Cousins is not really a guy that looks at his tight ends, it feels like.
Yeah, and Kyle Rudolph, I mean, they have a lot of weapons on their team, but you're looking for 5 or 6 catches and hopefully he gets a touchdown.
That's too much. That's like not enough to really rely on as your one tight end. No.
Mm-hmm. I agree. My last sell is interesting. I think you might at first jump up at this, but Odell Beckham Jr.
What? Yeah, I agree with that.
But I say sell him after Sunday because I think he'll have a huge game, and that's when you want to sell him, when his value is really high. Wait for him because he's coming off a 7-point performance in half PPR scoring. But he had a 31-point game before that. So if he can get like in the 20 range this week, I think that you can get somebody to give you something in return. Maybe even a 2-for-1 trade where you get a solid wide receiver, maybe like a Golden Tate or someone who like has less of a name, but is somebody who's reliable, that plays in a better offense. And then maybe you can get another running back, like a wide receiver, a decent running back too, something like that. Maybe improve the depth of your team and still have a reliable receiver to replace Odell Beckham. Does that make sense?
I get what you're getting at. Like, he has been struggling. He's not at the moment the best possible.
Get 2 decent to good players for one good player.
You think you get 2 guys for? Well, yeah, I guess some people are like still like thinking Odell Beckham's this amazing player.
Exactly, he's a name.
You could probably steal it. You could probably steal a talented player or 2 from like someone.
Yeah, I mean,
take advantage of people that don't really understand football and just are doing.
You could get like Alshon Jeffrey plus, I don't know. Like, I'd even take a flyer on like a Kenyon Drake or something like that. Like, give me a
Drake's a big risk,
but give me a decent player. Give me a decent player plus a risk is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. I might not trade for Kenyon Drake, to be completely honest with you, but I can see why you can take a chance on that for a 2-player type deal for Odell Beckham.
So we got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to do our favorite game where we pick our teams for push-ups. We should do that right after this.
Going down, Mark.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
And welcome back to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. We've talked about our sleepers. We've talked about buyers and sellers. We've talked about everything else that had to do with that. Now, we're going to go into our favorite fantasy football game, but I'm making a new rule. You cannot pick the same player 2 weeks in a row. So everybody we picked from the last week are ineligible for this week.
Okay.
So tell us who was ineligible for this week.
So I picked Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, Julio Jones, Travis Kelce, Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
And you... So I can't pick those players, and you cannot
I can't pick them either.
You can't... Oh, no, you can pick them.
Okay, we can see do that.
You cannot pick Cousins, Michelle, Tyreek Hill, Gronkowski, Juju.
Yeah, not if you want to take Tyreek, it's going to be a big bump. But okay. Am I starting? You starting? Who's going first?
So I start.
Okay.
I'll take Patrick Mahomes as quarterback.
Okay.
Who do you got?
Yeah, man, Patrick Mahomes is a good pick. I don't know who can counter that.
I mean, you could.
I was.
Go ahead.
Give me Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck?
Yeah, I know that's a huge risk, but he's playing a horrible Bills defense.
Horrible defense, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Then go ahead with your running back pick.
I gotta go Todd Gurley. I mean, you can't pick him, but I'll take advantage of that. I'll take that.
Todd Gurley, okay. That's a good pick. I kind of like, let's see here. We're not doing the Monday night games. That takes Barkley out of the equation.
As well as Julio and Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, so I am actually going to go with Melvin Gordon.
I like it. I actually was considering him also. But for my wide receiver...
It's actually my turn.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, because we...
Don't say who I want. Don't say who I want.
We actually go back and forth here.
Right.
So for wide receiver, I like...
Don't say it.
AJ Green.
God damn! That's exactly who I wanted.
Go ahead.
God, because they're playing the Chiefs. I don't know now. You ruined everything.
Just so many good players.
God, kiss my A. Give me Alshon Jeffrey?
Alshon Jeffrey?
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta go with him.
Okay, now you get to pick tight end.
Oh, goody. First crack at tight end.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Give me Travis Kelce. I'll steal him.
That's fine. I have his quarterback, so anything he does, it helps me.
You know what? Can I change that?
Nope.
No, I want to change. Give me a redo. I want tight end Greg Olsen. Is he playing?
He should be playing.
Yeah, so give me Greg Olsen.
Are you sure, though? What if he doesn't play? Then you're screwed.
If he doesn't play, keep Kelce.
Nope. You have to take one or the other.
Fine. Just give me Olsen.
Okay, Greg Olsen. Well, I can't take Kelce, but I can take Eric Ebron.
Oh, that's a good one. Are we doing? I forget. Do we do defense?
No defense. We just do a flex.
So, flex. Okay. This is gonna be big. Okay, this is big.
Go ahead.
I'm going to choose as my flex Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas. Okay. For my flex,
I think I made a mistake.
just one?
Yeah, because I should have went with someone else on New Orleans.
You can change it. You want to go Kamara or Ingram or what?
No, I got to go with my gut. I'm going Thomas. I'm sticking with him. He's going to have a good game. The run defense on Baltimore is better than their passing defense, so I'm going to keep Thomas.
All right. I like it.
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
I will say This is a tough one for me. There's some good players and some good situations, but man, I'm kind of leaning to Robert Woods, but I will say Joe Mixon.
Okay. That's kind of a risk, but okay.
Yeah. So, to recap, this is my team. You ready?
Yeah.
Mahomes, Melvin Gordon, AJ Green, Eric Ebron, Joe Mixon. Your team, Andrew Luck, Todd Gurley, Alshon Jeffrey, Greg Olsen, Michael Thomas.
It's pretty even.
Yeah, okay. I
Don't you think?
I think I'm going to smash, but I think I'll win by 20.
That's not a lot in fantasy.
Yeah.
That's actually a really slim margin.
Well, our game ended in a 1-point difference last week.
I feel like it's going to be the same thing.
Cool. So, we will see, again, this is for, 25 push-ups? Is that right?
No, we're doing 10. 25 is the championship.
All right.
We discussed that.
I think we should bump it by 10 every week. That would be real interesting. So
Okay,
we go
10
20 next week, this game.
No, okay, fine.
20 on Monday, 30, 40, yeah, and then we'll get ripped. Well, maybe one of us. Maybe
Yeah,
you
whoever.
will.
Yeah, because I'll be.
You can thank me.
I'm sure.
You can thank me.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So we're done here, I think.
I think we're all set. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday for this fantasy football podcast. Please
We'll be
tune
back
in.
Monday.
We'll be back on Monday to see who won. We'll be back on
Push-ups.
Monday to see a Monday Night Football matchup. And we'll also be back on Monday for the football podcast as well as the sports podcast.
You guys have a great weekend.
Yes, you have a great weekend. We love you guys. We'll see you on Monday.
One last thing.
Let
the fantasy gods forever be in your favor.
Did you say that last week also?
I don't know.
We're going to end this on a very sad note.
Jeff
so
will
have a good
volunteer
weekend.
as tribute.
What? All right, we'll see you this weekend before I'm apparently
All right,
killed
we're
off.
out of here.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.